A late Mohamed Salah equalizer rescued a 2-2 draw for Liverpool at absence hit Arsenal to move them a point off the top of the table. The Gunners were without William Saliba and Ricardo Calafiori from their first-choice back four and held their visitors at arm's length for much of a captivating encounter. But after losing Gabriel to a knee injury during the game, were punished late on by a clinical Liverpool counter. Trent Alexander-Arnold's long ball down the right left the hosts stretched, with Darwin Núñez's pace in behind, allowing him time to square to Salah for his sixth Premier League goal of the season. Salah play video. Clinical in front of goal. Salah drags Liverpool level. Mohamed Salah drags Liverpool level late on at the Emirates. That kept Liverpool 4 points ahead of their hosts despite what Jamie Carragher labeled a disappointing performance. When you think of the problems Arsenal had with injuries during the game, then it would have expected them to create a lot more, he said. Arsenal had given themselves a lead to defend inside 9 minutes when Bukayo Saka won a foot race with Andy Robertson to Ben White's ball down the line. In spite of the Liverpool defender's recovery, Saka shook him off a second time before lashing in at Koeman Keller's near post. The Spaniard briefly had his celebrations cut short by a VAR review, which took several minutes to confirm he was onside by the finest of margins. Liverpool only forced David Raya into one save after half-time, despite Arsenal losing Gabriel and then Jurrien Timber to injuries, until they finally clicked into gear with 10 minutes remaining to catch Arsenal upfield for Salah's late leveler. That goal stopped Arsenal narrowing the gap to the Reds to a point, and instead moved the visitors themselves back a point behind new leaders after passing their sternest test against Chelsea last weekend. Liverpool came up short at the Emirates. They had an opportunity to put down a real marker against what ended a third-choice Arsenal defense, but only really tested David Raya once after half-time. That was when they beat him. Everyone knows the quality Arsenal lose when one of Gabriel or William Saliba is absent. When both are missing, a team of Liverpool's attacking efficacy should be threatening much more. All that, and when Arsenal are also onto their third-choice left-back. Arne Slot praised the second-half response of his team, and they did improve from a slow start, but only to register a combined XG of 0.85 across the 90 minutes, their lowest figure of the season. The most thrilling Derby d'Italia in history played out at San Siro as Inter surged into a 4-2 lead, only to be clawed back by a brace from Kenan Yildiz for 4-4. The Nerazzurri injury crisis intensified midweek, losing Carlos Augusto, joining Hakan Calhanoglu, Francesco Acerbi, and Tajon Buchanan on the treatment table, so Piotr Zielinski was chosen as playmaker. Juve lost to VfB Stuttgart midweek, as Douglas Luiz entered the absentee list with Toyn Koopmeiners, Nico Gonzalez, Gleison Bremer, and Arek Milik. However, Francisco Conceição returned from suspension, and Weston McKennie shook off a muscular issue, sending Kenan Yildiz to the bench for only the second time this season with Kefren Thuram. See how it unfolded on the live blog. Inter broke the deadlock with the first chance as Benjamin Pavard burst down the right and pulled back from the byline for Marcus Thuram, who got to the ball before Danilo, the attempted clearance instead kicking his ankle. The referee pointed to the spot, and Zielinski stepped up to convert, celebrating his first Serie A start for the club. The advantage lasted barely 5 minutes, as Juan Cabal floated a ball over the top that McKennie cushioned down and across for Dusan Vlahovic to side-foot home on the bounce from 5 yards. Remarkably, it was the first goal that the Serbian had ever scored at San Siro. Juve turned it around completely because Francisco Conceição left Henrik Mkhitaryan standing with a dummy down the right and rolled across for Weah to simply redirect it from point-blank range. Conceição also forced a save out of Jan Sommer at the near post, but Inter equalized when Mkhitaryan made up for the earlier error by completing a give-and-go with Thuram to burst into the area and drilling through a sea of legs into the bottom corner. Incredibly, moments later, Pierre Kalulu mistimed his clearance to kick Dumfries in the back of the leg for another penalty, which Zielinski converted into the bottom corner despite grazing Di Gregorio's fingertips. It was very nearly 3-3 in first-half stoppages, as Sommer was stranded when Weah's curler skimmed the far top corner from the edge of the area. Dumfries should have made it 4-2 straight after the restart, but hit a fresh air shot when Di Gregorio parried a Federico Di Marco effort into his path. He made up for it moments later, as a corner was flicked towards the back post, where he controlled and placed the angled drive through Cabal's legs to leave Di Gregorio stranded. Di Marco's screamer was palmed round the post by Di Gregorio, as the goalkeeper also flew to fingertip a deflected Nicolò Barella volley out from under the crossbar. Lautaro Martinez's header from a Di Marco corner skimmed the far post, but just as Inter seemed to be dominating, Juventus got back into the game. McKennie's pass sent substitute Kenan Yildiz on the counter. Dumfries backed off, and he placed a precise angled drive into the far bottom corner for 4-3. Paris Saint-Germain trounced arch-rivals Olympique de Marseille 3-0 at the Stade Velodrome on Sunday with a blistering first-half display, courtesy of goals from Joao Neves 7 and Bradley Barcola 40, either side of a Leo Balerdi own goal 29. OM's Amin Harit was sent off in the 20th minute. The win sees the defending champions move 3 points clear at the top of the Ligue 1 standings after matchday 9. There was an electric atmosphere for Le Classique between the two biggest rivals in France and the annual highlight of Ligue 1 calendar. The sporting stakes were high, of course, with two of the league's top three going head-to-head for a place at the summit. Luis Enrique aligned a hybrid 4-3-3 formation with an attacking trio of Lee Demba Barcola, combining technique, speed, and courage. It was a typically hostile atmosphere in the Velodrome. However, Les Parisiens are well-versed in rising above the noise and focusing purely on the task at hand. The first duels, the first contacts, the first tackles all reflected the determination of Les Rouges et Bleus, and it took just 7 minutes for a powerful start to be translated onto the scoreboard. Nuno Mendes began a fine team move down the left, and his compatriot João Neves was on hand to finish from close range, 0-1-7. The perfect start. Luis Enrique's side were in complete control, and things got even harder for the home side when Amin Harit was sent off, leaving his teammates down to 10 men following a high boot challenge on Marquinhos, 20. Despite the numerical advantage, Paris showed the importance of respecting the competition and the game plan as they looked to secure the result as quickly as possible. Maturity, calmness, and solidarity were the watchwords inside the cauldron-like atmosphere of this ultimately one-sided classique. It was these virtues that enabled Paris to add 2 more goals before the break. First, OM skipper Balerdi deflected the ball into his own net under pressure from Lee Kang-in, 0-2-29, and 9. And then came the knockout blow. After another quick attack from João Neves, Ousmane Dembélé was first denied by Rulli before coolly squaring for Bradley Barcola to net Les Parisiens' third, 0-3-40. Paris had sucked the oxygen out of the Velodrome. Alternating long sequences of possession with changes of tempo, the visitors launched wave after wave of attacks on Rulli's goal as the second half wore on. From a Bradley Barcola effort, 47, to an Ousmane Dembélé shot from an exquisite Barcola pass, 52, the chances rained down. The Parisians' attack was on fire. But at the other end of the pitch, the rearguard was just as inspired. Led by the impeccable Marquinhos and athletic William Pacho, with the industrious and tireless midfield, it was a truly royal Paris Saint-Germain, dominating in all areas of the game. There was no further change to the scoring in the second period, despite several flashes of brilliance from those in Rouge et Bleu. Hosts Ajax are currently in third place with 16 points after 7 matches. They secured a thrilling 4-3 victory against Heracles at Aceto Stadion in their last Eredivisie match, extending their unbeaten streak to 5 games. Willem II, on the other hand, sit in 8th place with 12 points, having drawn 0-0 against Fortuna Sittard at Koning Willem II Stadion in their last league match. In their most recent Eredivisie encounter, Ajax triumphed over Willem II with a 1-0 victory at Koning Willem II Stadion in February 2022, thanks to a goal from Jurrien Timber in the 81st minute. Ajax have been dominant against Willem II lately, remaining unbeaten in their last 4 league matches against them. Willem II are hoping to secure their first league win against Ajax since December 2019. During this unbeaten streak, Ajax have outscored Willem II 10-2. Davy Klaassen, Bertrand Traoré, and Wout Weghorst have been key players for Ajax this season, each netting 3 goals to become the team's top scorers. Meanwhile, Willem II have relied on Sis Sandra and Kian Vaesen, who have also each scored 3 times. At home, Ajax have been flawless this season, winning all 3 of their Eredivisie matches, scoring 9 goals and conceding just 1. They aim to extend their impressive 17-match home unbeaten streak, which has been ongoing since November 2023 against Volendam. In contrast, Willem II have earned 5 points out of a possible 12 in their away league matches this season. VfL Bochum did not put up much of a fight. Bayern Munich effectively dominated the game from minute 1 to 90, which is reflected in the stats. Therefore, choosing a player for the jersey swap wasn't easy. It's hard to pick someone that stood out. Symbol, SBN Nation story. In the end, it was Ibrahima Sissoko who caused Bayern the most trouble out of the Bochum roster. The Malian midfielder played to the right of Bochum's center, attacking the space between Alphonso Davies and Kim Min-jae. He was often a nuisance to both players, his pace leaving them scrambling to get back to defend. In the end, Sissoko's efforts didn't amount to much, but he did make his markers feel uncomfortable. Der Kaiser, Alphonso Davies. In the last 3 years, we've rarely had games where Davies has locked in, but this definitely counts as one of them. The Canadian dominated his flank with ease, making it practically impossible for Bochum to play freely down their right-hand side. He also had an assist for Kingsley Coman in the second half. However, if we're being honest, he didn't have much to do with it. It's not the assist that made him good in this game, it was everything else. Fußballgott, João Palhinha. Palhinha only played 60 minutes, but in that time he showed that he's got the dog in him. The stats may not show it, but there were periods in the game where Bochum managed to regain possession and actually try to do something. The reason that those attempts didn't get very far was because of the Portuguese midfielder. Unfortunately, Kompany still seems hell-bent on using him as the advanced midfielder, while Joshua Kimmich stays deep. Surely this can't be making the best use of his skills. Der Bomber, Kingsley Coman. Kingsley Coman didn't exactly set the pitch on fire, but it was still the kind of workmanlike performance you can appreciate. He never stopped running, never stopped trying, and that goal he scored might be one of Bayern's best of the season. Frankly, the attacking players didn't do much outside of scoring. In that sense, Coman had the most complete performance, aside from one other player. Meister of the match, Jamal Musiala. Jamal Musiala is back, and it looks like the rest did him a lot of good. He's moving more freely, seems far more engaged in the press, and his assist to Harry Kane was wonderfully orchestrated. The best part is that he didn't have to play the full 90 minutes, which means he'll hopefully be fresh for the knockout game against Mainz in midweek. Postecoglou said he did not want Spurs to play Palace at their own game and said the stop-start nature of the match did not allow his players to settle down. What I want to try to do is get people to adjust to playing our game. Some of it is out of control because they're obviously going to be pretty aggressive in their approach, he added. How the referee deals with that, not so much in terms of the challenges, but in terms of stoppages and taking their time. All of that is out of our control, but I just felt when we had control of things, we could have dealt with it better. Advertisement Tottenham Hotspur boss Ange Postecoglou rued his side's lack of composure in a 1-0 defeat at Crystal Palace on Sunday, saying the visitors conceded a poor goal after losing the ball near their own box. Palace claimed their first win of the season when Spurs defender Mickey van de Ven slipped in possession as they looked to play the ball out from the back, and the home side capitalized to score through Jean-Philippe Mateta. We could have dealt with those situations better, but it was a poor goal, and we should do better at that, and not concede like that, Postecoglou told reporters. There were other solutions out there, and again, even in that moment, we didn't have to lose our composure. It just seems we kind of wanted everything to run smoothly, and we know it doesn't, especially in a game like today. There are still ways you can overcome that, but it was a poor goal to concede because the game was always an arm wrestle. It was never going to be won with bags of chances. Resurfaces of chances, so to concede like that was disappointing. We ended up doing silly things, giving away silly fouls and losing our composure, which just adds to that sort of game when you can't get any traction. We directed our frustration in the wrong way rather than dealing with it like we should have. Spurs goalkeeper Guglielmo Vicario kept Palace at bay with some crucial saves, and the Italians said the home side showed more fight in the London derby. They fight, and I think we lack that today. We are disappointed because we have to fight. We play good football, but maybe sometimes we lack the desire to fight. They show a real desire to fight for something, Vicario told Sky Sports. I think we lacked a bit of energy to be better than them. We have to take this personally, and it has to hurt us a lot. Jared Bowen scored a controversial 90th-minute penalty as West Ham grabbed a precious 2-1 win over wasteful Manchester United at the London Stadium to leapfrog Erik ten Hag's side in the table. Casemiro looked to have rescued a point for the visitors after sub Crescencio Somerville had capitalized on some shocking first-half finishing to put West Ham ahead. But there was drama in the final moments when ref David Coote was sent to the pitch side monitor by VR Michael Oliver to examine a collision between Matthijs de Ligt and Danny Ings. Replays appeared to show the United defender clipping the ball before catching the West Ham attacker, but Coote, after a long review, decided there was enough contact to warrant a penalty. Man United's players were incensed, but Bowen kept his cool to find the bottom corner and send his side up to 13th in the table, ahead of Man United on goals scored. Clear and obvious isn't how VAR worked, how they run their process. Before the season, they explained the process of VAR. Only when clear and obvious they should interfere. What they didn't do against Spurs, that was a wrong decision, and now they make a wrong decision interfering, and both have big impact on the games. I don't criticize the personnel, I criticize the process. We created so many chances, played so good football, especially in the first half. How I want my team to play in and out of possession. I counted 6, 7 100% chances we should have scored. That is a point of improvement. But overall, I had not so many criticisms of my team, apart from not scoring. With 87 minutes on the clock, there was contact between De Ligt and Ings in the box. Initially, ref Coote didn't award a penalty. However, VR Michael Oliver deemed there was sufficient contact on Ings' lower leg to recommend an on-field review. Coote then spent around 2 minutes at the pitch-side monitor watching replays of the incident. West Ham were transformed by a triple change at halftime when Lucas Paqueta, Konstantinos Mavropanos, and Carlos Soler were swapped for Somerville, Jean-Claire Todebo, and Tomas Soucek. They could have taken the lead before Somerville's back post finish from Ings' miss-hit when Emerson miscued a flick from Michail Antonio's cutback. And Boss Lopetegui was encouraged by the second half showing after an at times shambolic defensive display before the break. The first half they were better. The second half we changed, and we deserved to win the second half. It's true they had chances, and that's why we changed a lot. In the second half, I think we were better than them. In the second half, I'd like to highlight the commitment, the energy, the mentality, and the support from our fans. When they equalized, we didn't get down, and we were able to beat one of the best teams in the world. We're happy and looking forward.
Cole Palmer produced one of the best passes in Premier League history to help Chelsea overcome Newcastle United 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea thought they had made an early breakthrough when Nicholas Jackson sent Palmer through on goal, but despite the England forward coolly slotting past Nick Pope, his strike was ruled out by the video assistant referee, VAR, for the tightest of offside calls against the striker, who had strayed just beyond Fabian Schär. That home disappointment did not last long, though, as the Blues soon made a deserved breakthrough after what Jamie Carragher called one of the best passes I've ever seen in the Premier League as Palmer's outrageous ball released Pedro Neto in space down the left. The Portugal forward, starting in place of the benched Jadon Sancho down Chelsea's left, did well to first evade Schär's tackle on the byline, before squaring for the unmarked Jackson to score his 10th goal in his last 14 league matches for the Blues. But Newcastle, minus the injured Anthony Gordon, were not level for long as the hosts went back ahead just 75 seconds into the second period after losing the ball on halfway, allowing Romeo Lavia to feed Palmer, who then somehow beat Nick Pope at his near post for his 17th Premier League goal at Stamford Bridge in 2024. the most by any player in a calendar year at the stadium. And then Chelsea had an injury time penalty overturned by the VAR, who deemed Dan Burns' pull on Christopher Nkunku insufficient for a spot kick. As a result, Enzo Maresca sees his youthful side, the Italian has fielded the youngest 11 in Premier League history this season, move up to 4th in the table ahead of Sunday afternoon's later games, while Newcastle are 12th after going a 5th league match without a win for the first time since March 2023.